Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. This week I asked you guys if there was any questions that you'd like to ask me, so we're going to be doing a Q&A. Right into it. If you're on my Instagram this week, I put up a question box asking if there were any sort of burning Q&As. Some of them I am not going to read out. I did have a bunch of really interesting ones that you guys asked. So for this question from the vertebarian, I will be joined by Tofu, albino western hognose, and she was also the first snake that I ever had. What aspect of exotic keeping do you find most frustrating? I think it's lack of understanding of the animals. So one of the most common things that I hear when I say I keep exotic animals is, ew, gross, I'm scared of them, how do you do it, can you sleep at night, things like that. And it's annoying because I have to deal with that because the person speaking to me has no knowledge of my animals. Now, I'm not speaking for people who have had traumatic experiences with particular animals. I'm talking for the general public that are told from a young age that snakes, spiders, all of that are horrible and therefore we can't love them. But the thing is, you don't get that with dogs and cats. Even if you have a fear of dogs and cats, you would never find someone saying, I'm going to stamp on it, I'm going to drown it, I'm going to set it on fire, blah 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 blah. I think I find that most frustrating because for us, these are just little guys that we're responsible for and we take care of and we love them. So yeah, that's what I find frustrating. Justice for our animals. So joining me for this question is Vader, who is my Samopis Victory, and she is just in there. You can see some legs. We rehoused her recently. She's still up there. But she's built this incredible, like, it almost looks like a film set because it's so dramatic. But she has been busy with her bum. The next question. This comes from Izzy's Inverts and Exotics. Have you ever been bitten by one of your animals? And if so, tell the story. So I have been bitten by two of my animals. One wasn't really my fault, the other one was. I've been bitten by my leopard gecko, and every now and again I like to give her a little like a little waxworm as a treat, and I had it on the tongs and she just got way too excited and she jumped the tongs and she actually bit my knuckle. So it was the cutest bite I've ever seen. It was so cute, and you know, and there was no aggression in that situation. She was just super excited. The only other time I've been bitten is by my California king snake Mochi, and that was 100% my fault. I'm kind of new to snake keeping, and what happened was she was out in the open and she wasn't moving, which is really unusual for her. She usually sleeps in her burrow away from any eyes that could perceive her, and I was worried, so I opened her enclosure and I tapped the ground by her and she was asleep. So obviously waking up to a human hand in your face, like, she, you know, was quite rightfully very scared and she bit me. But it was literally just a tag. It was a get away from me. It wasn't a latch on, I'm never letting go of your finger ever again. She taught me a lesson that day that she's now comfortable enough to sleep out in the open and we don't put fingers in her face. For this next question, we are being joined by Angel, who is my Poecilotheria striata. She is completely feral. I am actually not scared, but I'm like nervous to interact with her because this one was actually on the loose for 2 days and probably is the only time in the whole of me keeping spiders that I've lost sleep. It was not a vibe. So I've had her from a little tiny sling and now she's pushing juvenile size, and I'm pretty sure that she's a girl, so that's cool. The next question is from Fellowship of the Noodles. What's your favourite and least favourite animal chore to do? My favourite one is feeding and watering, just because I get to see them all individually, and you know, I get to see a lot of them eat, and that's, you know, that's nice. My least favourite is is poo cleanup. So if a spider has pooed on the glass, usually I'll just leave it unless it gets really bad. Like you can see there's just like little dots of poo on here. But for the snakes, like their poo reeks and I hate it so much. And also my Ceropagopus species Hattie, she always poos in her water bowl, and she also puts her dead food in there, and it's just like I rate it because it's all in one space, but it's like a soup. It's disgusting. So that's my least favourite. This is Sega, and she is a female Philocrania paradoxa, or ghost mantis, and she's looking right at me. Hey hun. She's gorgeous. Sorry, I'm just obsessed with it right now. The next question comes to you by Reptiles by Chloe, and she said, if you could start pet keeping over again, what might you do different? So I think I got very excited in the beginning, and I tried to collect every single spider that I could, and soon enough it became a little overwhelming and I did have to downsize. And I do get it, obviously, because having a new hobby is exciting, it's really exciting, but having more than you can cope with is not cool for you or the animals. So that would have been my only piece of advice. The next guest is going to be my S. calceatum Rosa, and I've got her on my hand here. I'm joking. This is my Phidippus regius called Euphrazine, and she has, or is currently sitting on, an egg sac. She's so great. So, Mama Euphrazine, the next question was asked by Tia's Terrariums. What 3 species would you recommend to a beginner / your personal favourite beginner species? Because I suppose I could go easy, I could say the curly hair, the Aphonopelma chalcodes and the Aphonopelma samani. But the chalcodes takes about 3 to 5 working years to molt. The samani will just go underground and you won't see it again. And the curly hair is definitely one of them. They're a decent starter. Because for a starter, Tarantula, you don't just want easy, you want visible. So I would say Tiltocatl albiplossus, curly hair, Lasiodora parahabana, salmon pink, and Nando tripepi, giant Brazilian blonde. Amazing, visual, like always out, easy to care for, and yeah, those would be my 3, I think. The next guest is Rio, who is my Lasiodora parahabana, and I've had Rio from a teeny tiny sling, and now he's a sub-adult, big sub-adult. So the next question is again from Tia's Terrariums. Arboreal would be I don't actually know. Can I go for one genus? Okay, let's go for 2. So one New World would be the Psamopaeus cambridgei, just because I think they're gorgeous and they've got a nice fiery attitude. Old World would be the Heteroscoda maculata, just because their colours are so striking. The only downside to them is that you never see them, they don't exist. Terrestrial then. Again, very difficult. So my first choice would be the Nando tripepi, because they have a really striking appearance and they've got nice little attitudes on them. And then the second one, let's go for an Old World. So Nando tripepi, and an Old World terrestrial, I would go for the Pteronoculus lugardi. Okay, so next up is Leo, who is an adult bicolour crested gecko, and he came to me with MBD, which you can kind of see in his face. You can see that it's not quite the right shape, but we've managed to keep it at bay, haven't we, boy? Yes, we have. So, we come in. Yeah, silly sausage. He's really bad at climbing. Okay, so the question is from Phil's Creepy Crawlies. He says, the top greatest things about the hobby is boring, so do the 3 worst things in your opinion. Number 1, people who do dumb with their animals, endangering their animals and themselves and giving the hobby an awful name. Don't put shit in your mouth. Don't put venomous animals on your face. Don't be throwing your animals around. This gets me very heated. Number 2, Leo says overbreeding. I am aware that there are massive issues in the snake community, from overbreeding corn snakes and overbreeding ball pythons. In the reptile community, there's a problem with overbreeding crested geckos, leopard geckos, and then in the tarantula community, there's a problem with overbreeding Lasiodora parahabana, curly hairs and things like that. So then what happens is you get a surplus, which means that loads go to rescues, they can't be rehomed, they aren't cared for correctly. Oh, the third thing's an easy one. It's people getting animals before they've actually done the research. So I have no problem with anyone learning on the job. We all do it. But what I do expect you to know before you get your first animal is how you feed them, their water requirements, their home requirements, their heat requirements, their temperaments. Too many times have I been asked, I've just picked up this tarantula, what do they eat? These are things that you have to know before you have that animal. I can't speak on behalf of the reptile community, but I'm sure they get those questions too. I will never not answer those questions because the welfare of your animal is important to me, but for the love of God, learn the bare minimum about your animal before you buy one. We are going to be joined by Blink, who is my Heteropoda javana, which is the stony huntsman. And before you even ask, no, I'm not going to hold this. The next question is from the Arachnus, or Gibby as we know her, or GBV, I don't know how to pronounce it. How does the amazing exotic pet keeping affect your life? Love you. Love you too. I have significantly less time for other things now. I have some very patient, very loving people in my life who allow me the space to do the things that I want to do and be myself. The biggest positive effect it's had on my life is that I have a whole room of little guys that I can just love with all my heart, and I didn't realise how much this would become my passion when I got my first tarantula. I always knew I was an animal person, but I never really allowed myself to sort of like roam free and explore that. I've just found that I have this whole other like piece of my heart that I've just never been able to access, and it just belongs to all of these animals, and it's amazing. Right, I love this next question so much that I'm not having anyone to join me because I want you to listen listen to me. The question was from Rich Newell. Can anything be done about popular keepers that set terrible examples for animal care? Yes, there can. Right, I'm not gonna jump on this video right now and start calling people out. We all know who the influencers are that have bad, actively bad care. Not care that could be, it could be worked upon, no, bad care. The influencers that rile their animals up, that stress their animals out, that don't give them the right food, don't give them the right humidity, all of these things, but they somehow seem to get these massive audiences, and usually they are audiences of people from outside the community because people within the community, they know better. Now we have excellent examples of influencers in the community, such as Kat, Rich, Petco. In the UK we've got Jaden, we've got me, you know, there are a wealth of people that have good husbandry. What can we do? First of all, we've got to be brave enough to start calling this out because it is not acceptable. I have clashed with 2 influencers this year, one of which unfortunately left the community because I just saw behaviour that was completely unacceptable. What it does is it gives our animals a bad reputation. It gives us as keepers bad reputation. Oh, it just makes me so angry, as you can tell. And it's always nerve-wracking to call out someone who is bigger than you, because you know you have to worry about the backlash from their followers and their fans, and that's not nice for anyone. But sometimes you see things and you just think, no, this is not it. You would not post a video online of you kicking a dog and then going, oh, look how scared it is. But for some reason it's okay to poke and attack your animals and put it online as entertainment. Why is that okay? It's not okay. And I'm just gonna keep going on about this, but basically it comes down to two things. Be better, call that out, because you can. And if enough people get it, they will stop acting like that. All right, next up we've got Baby, who's my freshly molted Nandu Triple P female. So the next question was again from Rich Newell. Which sources of information did you find helpful when you started? So when I started, the only source of information I was really using was YouTube, which is not a bad place to start. But YouTube is a fantastic goldmine of information, and I would encourage you to not just look at the videos that are shot in 4K with incredible camera equipment. I started my YouTube on my phone, and there are other people that have done exactly the same, and they have so much knowledge to share. And yeah, it's just amazing. You can find anything on there. Of course, everything else I learned off the internet, but originally I was using Mike's Basic Tarantula Care website. It's the only website I've found that actually has really good care sheets for tarantulas, and there's basically pretty much every tarantula on there that you can think of. I'll link that below because I'm not quite sure if I got that name right. Next up is my isopod colony of dairy cows. I think is Picello laevis species dairy cow. I actually haven't done a label for them, which is really unlike me. The next question is from Jeremy's Wild World, who asks, what advice would you give to the younger generations wanting to start keeping? I would say do your research. Find yourself a community of people that are into the same thing as you. That is a huge thing. I absolutely loved keeping tarantulas, but I enjoyed it so much more when I found other people I could talk to about it. Avoid Facebook groups, for the love of Christ. Don't get sucked into the shock value entertainment. So there are influencers out there that will put tarantulas on their head, for example. I saw a young guy on TikTok doing that a few months back. Just because it looks cool to the outside world doesn't mean that it is. There is a keeper, a young keeper, Hadley Smart. He's breeding things like H species black. He's breeding is it C meridionalis he's breeding? Basically he's breeding all world, and it's so cool to see. His husbandry is great, and he is just setting a really great example for young keepers. I think really highly of him, and I wish I could have been like that at his age. 3 things: do research, get yourself into a community, and don't get sucked into shock value entertainment. Okay, so the last question is from Jack's Reptile Life, and he says, do you have any current breeding projects or have any planned in the future? I currently have a gravid Summer Pierce polka that I'm waiting for her to lay, and I also have a gravid Poecilotheria metallica, and I'm not going to get them down off the shelf because I feel that they are literally days, if not hours, away from laying, and I don't want to introduce any stress into their environment, none at all. Earlier on in the video you saw Euphrazine with her 4th clutch, and just because I don't really have a gravid tarantula to show you, I have my box of sun beetle grubs, and these will take about 5 to 7 months to show the first beetle. Anyway, going back to the question, sorry. I don't have anything planned right in this specific moment because I'm waiting first to see if the polka and the metallica lay If they do, I'm just going to hold off for a minute because that's going to be, you know, 2 egg sacs to look after on top of all the jumping spider babies. But some that I would really like to do. My P. Lugardi is now mature. I'm waiting for her to shed. Annoyingly, I thought she was sort of like on the cusp of shedding. So Arachnidalian sent his mature male to me, and she took so long to shed that unfortunately the little guy passed away, but can you blame him? She still hasn't molted. She's still down her burrow with a massive ass. And it's getting jarring at this point because I want P. Lugardi babies. So my neck is itching really bad right now, which means that I probably kicked up some hairs in Rio or baby's enclosure, which is super great. And weirdly, it doesn't matter where I get hairs on my body. I can get hair in my hands, on my arms, my legs, whatever. It is always my neck that reacts. It's the weirdest thing. And right now it's the back of my neck, which I know no hairs would have gotten onto, which is jarring. Thank you for joining me on today's video. I know it was a lot about me and less about my animals, but I do love that you guys took the time and wanted to find out a bit more about me as a person. I know every single YouTuber on earth says subscribe to me, but like now I'm on YouTube, I get it. Every single subscribe gets me closer to my goal, and I'm currently on like 407 and I want to get to 100,000. That would be so cool. So every single subscribe, I get an email. I also get notifications, so I get to like celebrate twice. So if you like this, like, subscribe, do whatever you think is good. Don't downvote this video though, because I will come and find you.